Hi there, Chris from Stone Age Gamer here, and welcome back to the Gratuitous Rainbow Spectrum. The Virtual Boy is back, or at least it's coming back this February, and soon modern audiences are going to have an opportunity to play 14 Virtual Boy games. Why 14? Why those 14? These are excellent questions. Let's see if we can find the answers.
The Virtual Boy is back, or at least it will be in February when Nintendo launches their completely bananas Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics line on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 systems. Unlike other Nintendo Classics collections though, we appear to know every game coming to the service right off the bat. This naturally isn't too hard for them to do considering the limited scope of the Virtual Boy's library. There were only a total of 22 games released for this weird little doodad, and only 14 of them came to North America. Nintendo Switch owners with a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscription and the willingness to shell out either $25 for a cardboard Virtual Boy facsimile that you can slip your Switch console into, or a whopping $100 for what seems to be a full-size replica of the original Virtual Boy console that you can do the same thing with, will be able to play a total of 14 games, pulling from both its North American and international catalogs. That leaves just 8 games unaccounted for. What are they? Why aren't they included? Let's see what we can find out. Let's start with the North American games, and the first one on the list is Nestor's Funky Bowling. If Nestor looks familiar to you, you probably used to read Nintendo Power. Nestor was a sort of mascot for the magazine back in the old days by way of his ongoing comic, Howard and Nestor. He was also profoundly unlikable, so when Howard Phillips eventually left Nintendo, and subsequently his caricature left the comic, Nestor's solo adventures quickly became very unpopular. But he did manage to break out of print media and into his very own video game exactly one time, Nestor's Funky Bowling for Virtual Boy. Unless, of course, you subscribe to the theory of Nestor and Lark from Pilotwing 64 being the same person. Anyway, Nestor's Funky Bowling is a bowling game starring Nestor and his sister Hester in a bowling competition. It's way more interesting than it is fun, because at the end of the day, while it isn't bad, it's just a fairly straightforward bowling game. Now, bowling is a cool way to show off what the Virtual Boy was capable of, and Nestor's Funky Bowling is kind of fun when you get the hang of it. So why isn't it here? My guess is the existence of Virtual Bowling. Yes, there were 2 bowling games on the Virtual Boy, and the one not wholly owned by Nintendo, as far as I know, is the one that made the cut. But even with another bowling representation on hand, it's pretty weird that Nestor's isn't included. Did they really not want 2 bowling games on here that badly? How bizarre. Next, let's talk about Panic Bomber. Nintendo and Hudson Soft have always had a pretty solid relationship, so this game not being on there is really odd to me. It's a Bomberman-themed versus puzzle game, which is hilarious since the Virtual Boy link cable never came to be, meaning that multiplayer on Virtual Boy was actually non-existent. But it's still a pretty neat game. You play against a number of Bomberman characters in a straightforward but fun, well-styled puzzle game. It's got really nice-looking visuals and an absolutely killer soundtrack. My only guess is that Hudson wanted more money for this than Nintendo was willing to spend, and well, that kinda stinks. This is a solid Virtual Boy game, and even though it exists on other platforms technically, this unique version seems like it will remain lost to time. Next up is Virtual League Baseball. In all honesty, this game not being in the collection isn't that tragic of a loss. Virtual League Baseball can be fun for a few minutes. It's got a really neat personality, and some of the music is genuinely great. But it suffers from an all-too-common problem that retro sports games tend to fall into: extremely unfair AI. The CPU is nigh unbeatable in this game, which sucks all the fun out of the room. Now, if Nintendo was going to somehow allow multiplayer in these games for their NSO release, that would be a different story, but as it stands right now, its absence is kind of a bummer, but not devastating. Speaking of not devastating, here we have Waterworld, the Virtual Boy's only movie tie-in game. It's, well, it's not great. It's not awful, but there just isn't much here. If you've ever played Cobra Triangle, it's kind of like a 3D-ish version of the Guard the People stages. And that's about it. It's a super shallow, pun very much intended, vaguely fun experience that would in no way be worth the price of relicensing the movie tie-in rights for release here. Again, it's a shame because, like I said, it's not bad, but its absence is probably the least surprising of all. On to the Japan-exclusive game front, we have SD Gundam Dimension War. Obviously, the Gundam license is probably the problem here. That said, this game, while interesting, isn't much of a big loss either. It's a sort of strategy action game where the battles look neat enough in 3D, but they don't amount to much in terms of fun. I haven't put much time into it, mostly because I'm not a big Gundam fan, nor can I read Japanese, but still, from what I've seen and played, this wasn't a very good game to begin with, so its absence is no surprise at all. Space Squash, on the other hand, is actually kind of fun, and it's a real shame it isn't a part of this collection. It's not exactly appropriately named, because it's not really squash? I don't really know what squash is. Either way, you play as a robot playing a weird space handball game against another robot in space. Maybe that is what squash is, I don't know. It doesn't work very well in 2D, but on original hardware, and presumably how you'll be forced to play these games on Switch, when you can see where the ball is moving in 3D space, it can be sort of fun. The robot designs are kinda neat too. Like Waterworld, it suffers from a lack of content. Or at least I think it does. Again, I can't read Japanese, so I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but I would have liked to see this one make a showing. Virtual Fishing, on the other hand, is another not-so-big loss. It's little more than a mediocre fishing game, and the 3D of the Virtual Boy doesn't do much to make it any more interesting. I guess the river looks kinda neat. As far as I can tell, it's just a fishing game, but red, and kinda boring. Meh. Which brings us to Virtual Lab. This is what I would consider the only legitimately bad game on the platform. Yes, no amount of literal rose-tinted nostalgia goggles can change the fact that Virtual Lab is not a good game. It's ugly, it's bland, has annoying music, and controls awfully. It's got almost nothing going for it, and I, for one, am glad it's not on board. Okay, not completely glad, as even bad games do deserve preservation, but man, this game is just wretched. You're playing a cross between Tetris and Pipe Dream, which on the surface doesn't sound like the worst idea in the world, except that the pipes that you're placing look like intestines? And there's a little anime girl with 3D bouncing boobs that's sitting on the side of the screen cheering you on. There are basically no redeeming qualities here.
Well, there you have it. Those are the games that are not coming to Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics, or are they? We don't actually know for sure. The wording makes it seem like Nintendo says these are the 14 games that are coming and that's that, but you never know what the future may hold. Maybe they'll start cranking out some of those unreleased ones, like they did with Star Fox 2 on Super Nintendo and Earthbound Beginnings on NES. Like these kinds of things can happen. We don't know what the future holds, but either way, thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here today, please follow, comment, like, subscribe, share, and let us know down in the comments what Virtual Boy games aren't announced for this system that you are excited to try, that someday you would like to stick your face into a red pair of goggles and experience all of the joys of Nestor's Funky Bowling. Sound off in the comments. I love hearing from anybody and everybody who likes to comment on these things. Thank you again for watching. On behalf of all of us here at Stone Age Gamer, keep playing games.